All right, I'm gonna have to plead ignorance here, or at least lack of education. So the big game hunting thing, Lane Kiffin tweeted that out yesterday, and it was the private jet, private plane, whatever. And then just now, like 10 minutes ago, Mark Stoops tweeted out big game hunting for the team. Is there some sort of new cultural thing? I mean, I've heard that term used so often in Scott Woodward's coaching searches, but that's like in Baton Rouge. Like, is that are they trolling LSU? I don't know.
People are trying to connect the dots. Relax, people. They're just talking about recruiting. They're big game hunting for recruits. That's a simple play. Can't look too far into it. That's exactly what they're doing. I don't think any of these coaches are going to, put their plans out there. Their agents would probably smack them across the head. They're not putting that stuff out there. They're talking about recruiting. So I'm sure Coach Stoops is talking about recruiting for the University of Kentucky.
All right. I'll try to back off it. Just trying to keep my listeners current here, Jeremy. All right, let's talk about LSU and Texas A&M on Saturday night. We thought LSU had a real chance to stay in it. Thought the defense had a chance to hold Texas A&M down. They had to slow the running game down. They did. Zach Calzada was far better than I had thought he would play. Made some really, really good plays. Stayed on his feet. Scramble drills. It's killing LSU all year. And A&M takes a late lead, but LSU comes back with the last second drive that was perfectly executed by Max Johnson, who had a really, really nice game. When you look back at the stat sheet for Max, 22 of 38 for 306 and 3 touchdowns, playing behind an offensive line that was really struggling. I mean, they were letting A&M back there a lot. I think you're talking, how many sacks did Texas A&M have? 6 on the night. Max was under pressure all night, but he continued to throw the ball accurately, and they made big plays, and Jeray Jenkins was awesome, and it was great to see LSU beat Texas A&M on Saturday night in Death Valley.
Yeah, that was exactly what I said going into the game. It was going to take a day from Max, and Max made some impressive throws in the game. I think some of his more accurate, most on the money, on time, on target when you needed to have it. He made those throws when time and time again early on in the season. We saw him, especially in the Alabama game, not be able to hook up with his receivers. And so I think that was the day you were going to need, and he definitely came out and did that. And I also said we're going to have to stop those 2 running backs, Achane and Spiller. They had a couple runs, but that was about it, man. You totally shut those dudes down and really made Calzada have to beat you time and time again. I thought that would have to be the recipe for you to win that game. And when you go zero blitz, obviously you leave the middle of the field wide open, and Calzada, held onto the ball long enough to find his receivers and make a couple plays. But I think our defensive line played amazing. Jaquelin Roy just continues to be in the backfield making plays. And, man, so much talent on this roster is let you see, man. You got a head coach who's got to be in his last game, but still find a way to be an A&M team who wanted to win 10 games this season, but that will not be the case, and I'm loving every bit of that.
Nope. So Texas A&M running game, LSU just put it in the deep freeze. A&M had 6 rushing yards in total in the first half. Then Achane got going in the third quarter. They had 8 carries in the third quarter for 48 yards, 6 yards a pop. They had that one drive where he hit 3 pretty sizable carries in a row. Then they took the ball out of his hands in the second half, in the fourth quarter. The third quarter, they got it rolling. In the fourth quarter, they didn't have a rushing yard. They were 8 carries for no yards. So that was questionable by Jimbo for sure, and I love to see him being questioned over there in Aggie land. He was, able to be worshipped last year, and all of a sudden we're back to 8-4 where we usually live, and they're all upset, all up in arms. But A&M had the chance to get their defense on the field with one chance to stop LSU. The Tigers had to go 85 yards, and Max Johnson was great, and they went right down the field, and then A&M goes into man coverage and brought some heat on that last touchdown throw, and Max was under pressure, under duress. LSU basically whiffed on the front, but he laid it up there, and Jenkins made the play on a perfect throw.
Yeah, Jenkins, man, he really stepped up and had a huge day. Obviously, with a couple guys being out in the game and him having to step up, he did a phenomenal job. Just 2 big touchdowns when you absolutely have to have them, and he made a huge play to win that game in Tiger Stadium. And just a bad look for Jimbo and the crew, man. You lose to a lame duck coach and who's probably got a ton of guys out on offense, a revolving door on the offensive line with your defensive line being the advantage, and you got a defense with all the secondary out, a bunch of all the outside guy ends out, and you lose that game, man, against a bad 5-6 LSU football team. That's a lot of money. I know you said you'd be the dumbest man in the world to leave, but I'm starting to question that, Jimbo. I don't know, man. That was a bad loss for the A&M Aggies, man. Looking like little brother still maybe down the basement.
So Look, what are your thoughts on the Trey Palmer punt fumble no call?
I saw your tweet about that. That's juiciness right there. Look, we've seen it time and time again. Look, that's what makes football, man. You got to miss some calls. You got to get some calls. And that to me, if I was an A&M fan, I'd probably have a little bit to say about that one. But, hey, I'm sure we could point to time and time again where we didn't get calls in that game and things just didn't go our way. So, for an A&M team, who probably a lot of their guys, obviously, they would love to have Haynes King out there. But for the most part, a lot of their guys out there, man, you got to play better than that, especially against an LSU team like that. So, no, I'm not cutting them any slack on that. Y'all had plenty of opportunities to win that game, and y'all just didn't do it. So, I'm not going to put it all on that one play.
No, I'm not cutting them any slack for having a backup quarterback out there. LSU's got a backup quarterback, quote-unquote, out there. Georgia seems to be doing okay with their backup quarterback out there. Auburn played Alabama off their feet with the backup quarterback in there. That's part of it. I mean, I have no sympathy for them there. As far as the Trey Palmer fumble goes, they just missed that call. I mean, that's just a whiff, and it's one that you could point to and say the game changes, the outcome of the game totally changes because LSU couldn't have stopped the clock. They said forward progress was stopped. I watched the replay a couple times. It was not stopped. They just took the ball from them, and they just missed it. But it happens. They miss calls all the time. They missed a call 2 years ago when Kellen Mond's knee was down in regulation, and they blew that, and that's the only reason A&M won that game. So it happens, but the fact of the matter is that you played our JV squad and you got beat, and you should need the refs to handle that. So, I mean, I can talk about A&M for forever. I'm getting some thoughts in the Bayou Ford chat saying, Hunt, expound on the message board melt. There was Tex Ags was down on Saturday night, just went down because there were so many people trying to get to it. And the overall thought from Texas A&M people is that the recruiting class is still very, very good, but they're starting to get a little bit weary of Jimbo's offense and how it's not quite on the cutting edge. It's still very much a traditional offense. And so I love just a little bit of doubt creeping in over there. I love knocking them down a couple of pegs and down from 8-4, no chance to win 10, no chance at a big-time Florida Bowl. Hopefully they can go to Houston, play in some garbage bowl that they deserve to be in, and hopefully they don't ever turn that corner because I very much enjoyed watching them melt and lose their minds and go nuts and be frustrated because they are now 0-5 in Tiger Stadium as a member of the FCC and have never finished better than tied for second in the SEC West and have no championships, no jewelry, no hardware, no nothing to show, and they continue to be the most underperforming athletic department in the country, and I think it's funny. And I will continue to bring it up, and I will continue to talk about it and keep them right in their spot. And I was thrilled to watch LSU go out there and send them home packing.
Yeah, I definitely was. That was just a pleasure to watch. And look, I was sitting on the opposite side of the end zone. There was a lot of A&M fans in there, and they were buzzing for a big part. But that last drive, man, they got humbled real quick, and it was just a beauty to watch Dre Jenkins score that touchdown in the corner of the end zone and get the party started, man. That was a great time. It was a great feeling. Just have a send off in a good way this season for the LSU Tigers. And that was something I never questioned: their effort, their energy, how they would come out there and fight. And being able to be in a bowl game, obviously it's not our normal New Year's Bowl, but I think for a lot of these kids and a lot of these players who really didn't expect to play much this season, they're going to get a great opportunity to go out there one more time and try to have a winning season, which I think will be big going forward in recruiting as well.
I think you saw the All-American status cemented for Damone Clark on Saturday night. He goes for 10 tackles, 7 of them were solo. He has 2.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the game once again. Also had a quarterback hurry in the game. Baskerville had 4 solo tackles, 6 total. Those guys were great. And then, of course, the guys up front who have been so good for the majority of the year, specifically Neil Farrell, had another really strong game. Knocked a pass down, was disruptive in the backfield. The guys who were likely playing their last game, and in those cases who are playing their last game, were just awesome.
Yeah, they definitely were, and those are the guys you had to have on defense because you don't have anyone else literally. And those are the guys who've been here all year long, and they've made a huge jump to me. I think a lot of those guys played snaps last year and probably wasn't too impressive, but I think for Micah Baskerville, I think for Damone Clark, obviously defensive line, Neil Farrell, just being a load in the middle, holding that A&M run game to what they did. You had to have that veteran presence out there, and that's exactly what those guys did, and that's why the Tigers won at home and sent A&M packing, man. That was a great night to be a Tiger.
As I continue to scroll through some of my notes and talking points, really, really nice night from Cade York. Knocks the 50-yarder through early and then a 47-yarder late, and just pour one out for the Groza. We had it in our grasp, and then we couldn't kick enough field goals, and then we missed a couple down the stretch. But he is still the best kicker I've ever seen at LSU, and that was on display on Saturday night, which was probably his last game in Tiger Stadium too.
Yeah, definitely probably his last game in Tiger Stadium, and you saw the last stretch of that game. You needed all those field goals for him to knock through. Just big time, obviously from K York, and just really just cool, calm under pressure, man. It feels like every time he trots out there to kick a field goal for the Tigers, you feel like it's a great chance it's going to go in, and that's the feeling you want to have when you have a kicker. So you definitely got to tip your cap to Cade and wish him the best, and it was a great time watching him as a LSU Tiger.
For sure. One more game to be played there. Going into the Bayou Ford chat on YouTube, Bilbo Baggins says, what about that slight push-off by Jure on the final pass? Look, there was an extension of the arm. He created a little bit of separation, and if they would have called a pass interference there, I couldn't have gone nuts about it. But I think it was a pretty veteran play, guys jockeying for position, and he created a little bit of separation. I could see it being a push-off, but you're probably not going to call that when the guys are running full speed and they're both kind of jostling for position.
Yeah, hand fighting is legal, people. I know it's always great for Twitter.
It might have been a little more. I mean, there was a little bit of a separation.
Look, they're not calling that. I don't think
it's
so.
It's a play of a good receiver. A good receiver is going to do that.
Yeah, it's hand fighting. They're going to let you get away with hand fighting. Pass interference is if you impede someone else's progress. If you say that impeded him from making a play on the ball, then I don't think it was enough to say that. So, yes, you can, do a little hand tussling here and there. But as long as you don't impede them from making a play on the ball, you can't really throw that flag. I think that was on the line, but I'm good with them not calling that one.